All right, Sean, let's get into this conversation here as we're winding down the year with just a couple of episodes left here in 2025, which is kind of wild sounding already. But let's talk about this BuyLine strategy, right? So the SDBA is probably in our thumbnail, so people are probably going, what in the world is that? So what are we talking about this week?
So we're actually going to talk about individuals who work for an employer who have an opportunity to do what's called a self-directed brokerage account.
Okay.
So that's SDBA, and it's a way for employees to go in, still follow all the rules of their 401k, still keep all their contributions going in, keep all the matches, keep all the tax deferral, keep all the benefits of a 401k, but carving out a window to where they can choose their own unique customized investment options.
Okay. All right. And so, yeah, this is something that not many people talk about, right? It's very limited in information out there on this.
Well, think about like HR directors at most firms or most companies.
Mm-hmm.
They're not allowed to give investment advice.
Sure. Okay.
So they're there to provide, here are all your choices inside of our offerings and all your benefit offerings as a plan provider, but they're not able to give investment advice. So in a lot of cases, they're not going to recommend it, or they may not even know that that's an option.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so the problem with a lot of times the 401ks though, it's just a limitation, right? The investment limitations, the smaller pool of things to choose from.
Well, think about it. So you go into your 401k and you have usually two options. You're going to have all these options that are out there, but the two choices are you can really use what's called a target date fund, which
Right.
is algorithmic, and it changes and becomes more conservative as you get a little bit older. And you see that it's like target date 2030, 2035, 2040, 2045, 2055. And the further out you go, the more aggressive they're supposed to be.
Okay. Right.
That's option one. Option two is here's all the options, you choose.
Right. And a lot of times you don't know what you're picking, which is why people take the target date fund, because it's just easy.
It's just easy. It's you set it and forget it. If you are trying to go in and pick your own choices, usually what people do is they go in and, oh, well, this one had the highest returns. I'm going to pick that one. I'm going to pick that one without really any thought behind, all right, what are the underlying holdings? How does this affect my goals? What does all of that information look like on the back end? And ultimately, how is it going to affect your plan?
Gotcha. So this SDBA, this self-directed brokerage account, really is kind of like opening this window to more choices and allows for professional management, right?
Yeah, it's a window inside of your 401k plan. Think of it like carving out an extra room. And in that extra room, you've got a bookshelf of all these different choices. And now you can go and you can say, all right, I'm going to enter that room, but I'm going to pick and choose the right investments for my unique situation and the right options and choices. Mm-hmm. And now it's going to be customized and unique to me, but I'm still playing inside the house of the 401k.
So the BuyLine strategy, and I think we might have a graph we can probably pop up here to help with this. What is that, and kind of explain how this works a little bit.
So the BuyLine strategy is was built by a partner of ours, Howard Capital Management.
Okay.
So we're one of the unique firms that have an opportunity to work with Howard, and it's actually a really cool strategy. And what it does is that it's all based off of trends and data points and algorithm, decision making. So it's all based off facts and data. Okay. It's not based on the emotional side of the markets, right? So we get really excited about the markets. People are like, I'm going to be super aggressive, or market loses 40%. Now I'm emotional. I'm going to get out. So what the BuyLine does is it gets rid of all of the emotion, and it makes decisions based on certain data points throughout the markets, throughout the course of a month, a week, a year, a day. And the whole idea is, well, when markets are correcting a little bit. We use COVID, for example. They're going to move assets out of the markets, and they call it keeping the powder dry, and they're going to move money away. And then when the trends start to shift, money is going to be shifted back in and take advantage of rising markets. And here's a crazy thing. And I actually researched a lot of the data, the historicals. Howard is what's called GIPS compliant. It's all of their returns have been audited. Everything that they do has been audited by the highest standard. And over a 6 or 7 year period of time, the BuyLine strategy outperformed a normal 401k allocation by almost 50%. So what that means, wow, if you had a $500,000 portfolio over the last 8 years, you would have been closer to 845 with the BuyLine. With a normal 401k strategy, you would have been closer to 600. I mean, it was a pretty astronomical difference, and it's all audited. All the returns, everything they show has been audited based on facts of what they've actually done.
Wow. Right. So, okay. So the idea, I guess, here is that it's aiming to avoid those major downturns, mm-hmm, right? So, when you break below the BuyLine, right, it moves defensively. Yeah. Right. Am I understanding that right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So why does that matter? Right. Well, so hopefully keeping us out of the bear trap, right? Hopefully so we don't step in it.
Well, and nobody likes the big losses. We know how we're all going to feel when the markets go up and you do well. But I also know how people feel when the markets correct. And if you're doing it all on your own inside of your 401k and you're managing assets and you're in a target date fund, you have no control over the ins and outs, or there is no in and out. It's just buy and hold. What the BuyLine does, it brings in more active management. So there's not the buy and hold, and it's not reliant on you making financial decisions when you're emotional.
So why now, Sean, right? So you mentioned COVID earlier, right? And that was a pretty sharp V on the recovery, down and then back. Really, Liberation Day and the tariffs earlier this year, kind of the same, right?
Yeah.
Pretty sharp down. I think by May, I think the losses of, or at least June, the losses of April, 15, 18, 20%, depending on the indice, are pretty much back. And year to date, at the time we're talking right now, Sean, the S&P is year to date like 16.5%. So it's been a good year.
Right. But if you look at historically what has happened, 2022, 2008, we have had prolonged crashes. We've been fortunate enough right now where we haven't had those. And as you get closer and closer to retirement, those crashes matter more and more to your plan. If I'm considering writing off and retiring in a year or two, and I take a massive market correction, 20, 25, 30%, that changes the outlook, right? That changes maybe my decision making, or like, oh man, now I took a 25% loss, or it's not a 25 or 30% loss. It's not a 30% gain that I have to get back. It's a 43% gain that I have to get back.
Right.
If we take a 50% loss, now it's a 100% gain. So it's not like we're just going down the hill and we just climb back up the hill. We're going down the hill, and then we've got to climb back up the hill plus a little bit just to get back to where we were.
Yeah, and a lot of people do, they are wondering. I mean, yes, we've had blips along the way, but really a sustained, prolonged downturn hasn't been since the housing recession of 08, 09 or 07, 09, right? So how do you justify continuing to go for it? But at the same time, we have that, that fear of missing out thing that we all suffer from. So we love to see these 16% annual returns, but we also have to be realistic and say that can't last forever. And this is where risk tolerance comes in too, right, Sean? This is what we're talking about, because at the end of the year, somebody's going to say, hey, the S&P wound up being at 16% this year, but I didn't get 16. What did my advisor do wrong? It's like, well, they didn't do anything wrong unless you wanted 100% risk, right? You're not going to get the 16 unless you're at the 100%, right? So if you got 8, well, that's because you were diversified and you had some risk and some not.
Yeah, or 12 or 13 or whatever. Right. The idea behind it is once again, it's minimize losses and put yourself that much further ahead when markets do correct.
Okay. Yeah.
So if we can alleviate, or the BuyLine can alleviate, an extra 10% downturn, but still get a lot of the upside, you're going to be that much further ahead. That's why their returns, their GIPS audited returns have been so much further ahead than the average 401k because there's no emotion.
Yeah. So is there any qualifications or things people might want to know if they're interested in, if, can they use an SDBA?
Yeah. So you've got a couple of ways that you can do that. You can review your 401k and determine if it's available. And if they offer an SDBA, if they do, that's really easy. We can help set it up and go into the strategies. If you're unsure, still just reach out to us because we can do research for you on your plan. A lot of the big companies that are out there, they offer the SDBA option. But if you're unsure, let us know, reach out to us. We'll go ahead and we'll do the research and let you know if that's even available for you.
Okay. Well, if you'd like to do that, just click on the links that we'll have in the show description, schedule a 15-minute chat with Sean and the team, and just kind of see if this is an option that may be available, as he just mentioned. And of course, you can find all the links in the show description below, as well as, check out the website and go see the different tools, tips, and resources that the team has to offer. And don't forget to subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, and of course, right here on YouTube. And we'll see you next time here on the podcast. Sean, thanks for breaking this down on a little known topic that doesn't get as much traction as other things do. So I always appreciate it, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll see you next time here on Retirement Elevated with Sean Lee. Again, hit that subscribe button, and we will see you next time.
This podcast has been prepared for educational and marketing purposes only. The information in this video is general in nature, does not constitute personalized investment advice, and does not provide a complete analysis of the subjects discussed. All investments involve risk, and different types of investments involve varying degrees of risk. There can be no assurance that any specific investment strategy will be profitable or suitable to you. Additionally, although information presented in this podcast is believed to be factual and up to date, we do not guarantee its accuracy. You should consult an attorney or tax professional regarding your specific legal or tax situation, and should consult a professional advisor before implementing any of the strategies mentioned in this video. Investment advisory services are offered through Elevated Capital Advisors LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor affiliated with Elevated Retirement Group LLC. Registration as an investment advisor does not constitute an endorsement of Elevated Capital Advisors LLC by securities regulators, nor does it indicate that the firm has attained a particular level of skill or ability. Insurance advice and products may be offered by a third-party insurance producer, which may be affiliated with Elevated Retirement Group LLC and Elevated Capital Advisors LLC. Walter Storholt, Mark Killian, and Third Wheel Media LLC are not clients of Elevated Capital Advisors. They receive cash compensation for their assistance in preparing and hosting this podcast, and for providing the endorsement contained in this podcast. Because Walter, Mark, and Third Wheel Media are compensated in connection with this podcast, they have a material conflict of interest in providing their endorsement.